Hey there again, Techians. Welcome back to our tutorial series. And for this lesson, I'll be teaching you about prefabs, invoke function, how to repeatedly call a function, the transform component or the transform that position, that rotation, that local scale. I'll be teaching you that, and the on collision and on trigger function. For example, a game object should collide to another game object to perform a certain action. You should be including a collision function or on collision method. So let's start. Let us have first the prefab. So prefab in Unity is short for prefabricated or prefabricated game object that can be reused in another scene or in another specific action in your project. Say for example, in your project you have a shooting tank or a shooting gun. So the bullet that will come out of the gun, there is a game that bullet is a specific game object in your project. So in order for it to be spawned repeatedly, that game object should be prefabricated or should be converted into a prefab. So how to do that? Let's add another object. Let's say create empty sprites. I want to include 3 capsules, so let's just duplicate this capsule. So 3 capsule, let's say caps 2, and this is caps 3. Also, the advantage of making the game objects prefabricated. Say for example, this object, you add a component of physics component. Say rigid body. You add rigid body and you add, let's say, box collider. So in order for you not to do this again for the other game objects or these game objects that you will reuse in another scene, you just have to make it prefab, and that prefab object is already configured with what you have configured. So it's gonna give you less work and more time to engage in other matters in your project. So in order to do a prefab, we're going to make this 3 game object as prefab. So let's add component here, box collider and rigid body. And this also, let's just duplicate this one. Okay, caps. Okay, in order for you to convert this into prefab, you're gonna have to make first a folder in your project panel, name prefabs. Now, open the folder, and the object or the game object that you will convert into prefab, you will have to select it. So since we are going to make these 3 objects as a prefab, we're just gonna drag it down on the prefabs folder. And as you can see, the color of these game objects turns to blue. This only means that these game objects are prefabricated. So you can now reuse this again in another scene. Let's say for example, let's head over to scene level 2. Okay, let's save it first. So in order for you to add it again, just go to your prefabs folder, and you don't have to reconfigure it again because you have already done it back in the previous scene. So you're just gonna drag this one, drag, and drag, and there you have it. They're colored blue since they are prefab. Another thing I forgot In this video lesson, I will be also teaching you how to instantiate. If you can remember on the previous video that I was already talking about it, and I said that I shouldn't be talking about it since it's not intended for the topic. So I'll be teaching you that here, and we will be applying the concept also of prefab, and you'll be able, hopefully you'll be able to understand clearly the prefab. So that's the prefab. You're just gonna have to uh, select the game object that you're going to turn into prefab, then just drag it on your folder prefabs. It's up to you. You can change the name prefabs into reusable objects or prefabricated objects, but I would recommend that you just put or name your folder as prefab so that whenever you are going to look for the objects that is prefabricated, it is in your prefabs folder. You get the point. So next, um, let's have, oh, before that, prefabricated is not only limited to this kind of object. Any game objects in your hierarchy or in your scene panel can be used or can be turned into a prefab. In our project that we'll make in the letter catcher game, the letters that spawns randomly or the letter that are falling in the game scene are prefabricated. That's why they keep on spawning, spawning, and spawning, because they are prefabricated or they can be reused again. So let's head back to our first scene and let us have the next topic, which is invoke. So what do you mean by invoke? So invoke means whenever you want to call a function, you're just when you want to call a function repeatedly, let's say for example, it will be called after 2 seconds after the start button has been pressed, then it will be called again every after 3 seconds. We're not going to use coroutine, we're going to use a function invoke repeating or invoke. So let's do that. Now let's have our scripts. Let's say, okay, let's just use the script one again. So script one. So as you can see here in inspector panel, once you select a script, you can see the preview of the written codes on that specific script. So let's open this one, but I want to head over back first to our first scene. Save that. Okay. So the attach or the script one is attached in our circle game object, this one. So we want to open that one. Okay, there we have it. Loading again. Perks of having i3. Maybe there's a good, good Samaritan out there listening to this video that can donate. Anyway, I'm just kidding. Okay, let's call the function repeatedly. We don't have a existing function here. We have existing coroutine function. We're gonna delete this out. Okay, we don't need that. Start coroutine, don't need that. So again, let's use the declared variable that we used in the previous video. So I want again to void, since we're not going to have any return value, print run speed. Let's just use first the print function in order for you to know what kind of action that specific concept that I'm teaching you is doing. So void print run speed. So instead of writing this down, so here, or calling it in the print run speed, or this function print run speed to be called in every frame here in the update, I want to call it in the start, but it should be repeatedly implemented or executed in the game scene. So let's say print run speed. That's the function. And we're in here in the start function, I'm going to write invoke and open and close parentheses. So as you can see here, the syntax of invoke is invoke string method name. So we're gonna convert the function name or method name into a string. So expectedly we're gonna write here quotation mark and the name of the function. Just copy it and paste here, and comma, we have the float. So this is the time or the delayed time that this function will be called after we hit the start button in the game. So let's say for 3 seconds, since it is a float value, we're gonna write f and a semicolon. So since we have we created a change, or we make changes in the script, don't forget to hit the Control Save button. And it's compiling again. So let's just wait. Okay, so in the console, after 3 seconds or 3 float time, the run speed or the value of run speed, which is 13, will be printed here. So let's see. Okay, there we have it. After a time of 3, the print run speed was called using the invoke function. Let's do it repeatedly. So let's clear that. Let's hit this one. So as you can see, the 3 capsules. I forgot what happened again in the 3 capsules. Anyway, that's not our goal. That's not our main agenda for this video. So invoke, for you to repeatedly call this function without writing it in the update, since in the update, if you call this function in the update, it will be called every frame. There is no delayed time or time interval between the function being called. So to do that, we're gonna write again invoke. So there you have it, invoke repeat. Invoke, not recall. Invoke repeating. Then invoke repeating. So we have there invoke repeating the method name. So we're gonna include it as, or we're gonna make it as a string value. The name of this function. So let's just copy this one. Then comma, the float time, or the time that will be executed before this function will be called. So let's say 2f, and float repeat rate. So after a 2-second time, this function will be called. Then it will be called again every after this repeat rate, depending on how many value that will be included. Let's say, for example, it will be called every 3 float time, and then comma. So if you read this code, invoke repeating this function print speed after 2 float time as you hit the start button, and it will be called repeatedly every after 3 float time. So let's hit Ctrl S, and then let's head back to Unity. So expectedly after 2 seconds, 13 will be printed here, since that is the value of the run speed, and every after 3 float time it will be printed again. So let's see that. Hit play button. Why? Print run speed couldn't be called. What's the error? Why? Print run speed. Why can't we call it? What was the error here? Trying to invoke method script on print run speed couldn't be called. Why is that? Why is that? Okay, let's check our error. What happened? Print run speed. Okay, I guess print run speed should be. Wait, is it? Print run speed. Oh, okay, okay. I get it. Print run speed. Okay. Let's hit Control S and let's see if my instinct is right. So let's clear this one. Okay, why is it again? Maybe there's an error in my syntax. Print run speed, invoke repeating, string method name, print run speed. Ah, I just write this one as string, print run speed, then comma. Okay, that's it. That's how it should be written. Let's say that 2 float time and every 3 float time. Okay, void to string. Why is it not working? Print run speed. Yeah, that's the function. Print run speed. So print run speed should be called trying to invoke method script on print run speed. Won't be called. Why is that? It should be called. Maybe there's an error in my syntax. We'll see. We'll figure it out. Okay, still. Am I using the invoke repeating right? Invoke recall. There's no invoke recall. Invoke repeating. Then string method name. Print run speed, comma 2f, comma 3f. I guess we should make this one as public. Let's see. Print run speed. It's written this as the same. Print run speed. Yeah, it's written exactly as it is. I don't know why I'm having error. So as you can see, this is how you debug your code. It's just a trial and error. Okay, it should be called. It should be called. Hopefully it should be called. Okay, there we have it. 13 and every after. So it should be called again after 3 seconds. Okay, there you have it. It is being called every after 3 seconds. So I guess our error, the access modifier of this function should be public so that it can be called as print, or this function can be called. But am I really sure about that? Let's see again. Let's try to remove this access modifier. Let's try to experiment. So we're not going to make it as public. So let's see if that function can be called again. As far as I can tell, I followed its syntax as given in the IDE. So let's hit. Okay, let's hit the play button. It should be called. It should be called after 2 seconds. Okay, there we have it. It's being called. Okay, two, 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's being called. So I don't know why it was considered as an error. I don't know what happened. So anyway, so the function invoke repeating, it calls a function repeatedly given um, a time after the start or after the initialization, then a repeat rate. So this function is useful especially in actions that are constantly uh, executing in your project. And this bad boy, this code, we will be using it in our letters that are falling down at a random position. So maybe I have mistyped the print run speed, that's why it's not being called. So print run speed, comma, the time after the initialization and the repeat rate. So that is for calling a function repeatedly. Just use this function invoke repeating. So next, let's have the transform component. So let us have that.